What if the strongest weapon in Demon Slayer wasn't a sword? Not water breathing, not Hinokami Kagura, just this, discipline. While the rest of the cast trains to unleash flashier moves and deadlier forms, Tanjiro wins with something no one sees coming. Brutal, boring consistency. And that is what makes him terrifying. Everyone talks about strength, style, rage, but Tanjiro, he doesn't win because he's the strongest. He wins because he shows up, breathes, and acts with focus every single time. This is a flex most people miss. In a world obsessed with hype, Tanjiro reminds us the deadliest edge is discipline. Today, we're going to expose the secret behind Tanjiro's calm power. We'll break down the Stoic philosophy embedded in his every breath and show you how to forge a weapon of clarity when the world is burning. Because the truth is, most people break under pressure, but Tanjiro, he breathes through it. Let's find out how. Before every fight, Tanjiro doesn't flinch. He doesn't rage, he breathes. One breath, that's it, and it's enough to change everything. How often do you get ambushed by your own emotions? You're in a fight, your heart's pounding, your pride's screaming, you say something you regret. You act before you think, and then you spiral. We've all been there. 1 second of chaos and everything unravels. But here's what Stoic philosophy and Tanjiro both teach us. You don't need to react. You need to respond. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Modern science backs this up. A 2015 study in Frontiers in Psychology found that box breathing, a technique used by Navy SEALs and elite athletes, reduces cortisol, enhances focus, and activates your prefrontal cortex, aka your logic center. In other words, controlled breath puts your mind back in order, back in control. Tanjiro isn't fearless, he's centered. Look at Demon Slayer Season 1, Episode 19. He's cornered. His bones are broken. Nezuko's nearly gone. But he closes his eyes and he breathes. In that pause, he activates Hinokami Kagura. Not from rage, but from presence. Ever been in a heated argument and paused just for a breath, and that breath stopped you from saying something you'd regret? That's not weakness. That's a combat pause, and it's power in pure form. The world wants you to react, to rage, to break. But the one who controls the breath controls the moment. Here's your move. Practice the combat pause. Next time you're overwhelmed, anger, fear, panic, take one intentional breath. That's it. One inhale, one exhale. Because between stimulus and response lives your power. The breath that saves your life starts before the sword is ever drawn. Everyone thinks Tanjiro's power comes from talent, but what if the real secret is just doing the same thing over and over until it becomes unbeatable? Here's the trap we all fall into. We want results without repetition. We hit the gym for a week, try journaling twice, meditate 3 times. And when we don't transform instantly, we quit because repetition, it's not sexy, it's not viral, it's silent. But it's also the only path to mastery. Psychologist K. Anders Ericsson, the guy behind the research that inspired the whole 10,000-hour rule, found that deliberate practice, not raw talent, creates expertise. His study, Psychological Review, 1993. The key wasn't just time. It was focused, repetitive training that stretched your edge every single day. In Tanjiro, that's all he does. He's not waiting to feel motivated. He's preparing to be unstoppable. Flashback, Season 1, Episode 3. Tanjiro's slicing through bamboo, failing, bleeding, getting knocked down. That boulder, unmovable. Until one day, it isn't. He doesn't level up from magic. He levels up from repetition. And in Mugen Train, we learn he's mastered total concentration breathing while sleeping. That's not a superpower. That's muscle memory, built through endless grind. Think about Olympic gymnasts. They don't train hard once. They repeat the same routine hundreds of times until their bodies can perform it with their eyes closed. It's not about working harder. It's about engraving the movement into your nervous system. Tanjiro's sword isn't just steel. It's ritual, edged in sweat, edged in reps. You don't need hype. You need calluses. And the pain of repetition is the price of real transformation. Pick one thing, just one. Maybe it's a journal entry, 10 push-ups, 5 minutes of breath work. Whatever it is, do it every day for 30 days, no matter how you feel. Don't worry about how small it looks, because repetition is the ritual that rewires your brain. The grind doesn't glorify you, it builds you. Tanjiro's greatest weapon isn't his blade, it's the choice to stay kind in a world that's begging him to break. Most of us let emotions drive the wheel. Anger, we lash out. Fear, we freeze. Sadness, we spiral. We treat emotions like truth, like commands. And that is how we lose. Because the person who controls nothing inside gets controlled by everything outside. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters most." But Tanjiro goes deeper. He doesn't just stay calm. He chooses compassion, even when he has every reason to collapse into rage. A 2021 study in Frontiers in Psychology found compassionate responses under stress don't just reduce anxiety, they increase clarity, resilience, and emotional intelligence. That's not weakness, that's neurological strength. In Season 1, Tanjiro battles Rui, the spider demon. Nezuko's bloodied, time's running out. He's panicking, hurting, but he doesn't break. Instead of flailing, he grounds himself, breathes, and in that clarity, he finds the perfect opening. He cuts, but he grieves too. His discipline, the choice to stay human. Same thing in Season 2, Episode 11, Daki's Rampage. The city is in ruins. Nezuko's out of control. Tengen's wives bleeding out. Tanjiro wants to scream, to rage, to shatter. Instead, he locks in. He becomes still. That's not numbness. That's mastery. Think about that moment someone insults you. Your first instinct? Snap. Clap back. Prove them wrong. But what if you didn't? What if you just paused, looked him in the eye, and chose calm over chaos? The most powerful person in any room? Not the loudest, the most centered. Anyone can fight like a demon, but it takes a warrior to feel pain and still choose to heal. Tanjiro isn't strong because he ignores emotion. He's strong because he feels it fully and still chooses his path. That's the kind of strength that lasts. This week, journal your emotional spikes. When did you feel triggered, anxious, angry? Pick one moment each day to pause before reacting, even just for 3 seconds. That's your real training ground. Every time you resist reacting, you train the most important muscle, emotional discipline. Your rage wants you reactive. Your fear wants you frozen, but your breath wants you free. Everyone sees the blade. No one sees the broom in his hand. But that's where discipline really lives. Everyone wants the results, the glow up, the transformation montage, but no one wants the part where you're up before dawn, sweeping, breathing, repeating the same motion alone. The truth? Discipline isn't what you post online. It's what you do when nobody's watching. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But what dissolves fear? Not just training, preparation, through purpose, through invisible systems no one claps for. Tanjiro doesn't wait for the fight to find him ready. He makes himself ready daily. Science backs it too. A 2009 study from University College London found it takes 66 days on average to form a habit that sticks. Not a week, not a motivational speech, 2 months of silent reps. That's what makes discipline real. Go back to the start of Season 1. Tanjiro's not swinging a sword. He's scrubbing floors, balancing cups, meditating on rocks, failing again and again, just to slice through a boulder. He's not just training his body. He's aligning his spirit. the chores, the quiet, the small acts of care. That's not side quest energy, that's soul maintenance. And in the episode where he gently teaches Inosuke how to breathe instead of break, that patience, that stillness, that's discipline forged in the quiet. Ever met that person who's always calm, not rushing, not bragging, but always prepared? You think they're lucky. What you're seeing is discipline built behind the scenes. They've built morning rituals, systems, foundations. They don't need to get ready because they are ready. The greatest victories in your life won't happen in public. They'll happen at 6 a.m. in silence, when you choose the boring thing that builds you. Some warriors train to destroy evil. Tanjiro trains to stay good. Design your morning protocol. Pick 3 non-negotiables. Simple, repeatable, no fluff. Like, make your bed, breathe for 2 minutes, write your top priority for the day. Start your day with structure, not scrolling. Discipline isn't a grind. It's a garden. Water it before the world touches you. The world won't see your discipline, but it will feel your results. You think strength is loud? That it roars? That it crushes everything in its path? No. Real strength is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't scream, "Look at me." It breathes. It repeats. It waits. It sharpens. Tanjiro doesn't flex. He doesn't rage tweet. He doesn't beg the world to notice. He just shows up, trains, breathes, again and again and again. And when everyone else is trying to look powerful, Tanjiro becomes powerful. That's why demons fear him, not because he's the fastest or the strongest, but because he can't be shaken, can't be baited, can't be broken. His discipline is so solid, it turns weakness into weapon, emotion into clarity, pain into purpose. And you don't need a sword to do the same. Start with one breath, one habit, one silent choice no one sees. Because discipline doesn't just break demons, it breaks the limits you never thought you could pass. Your silence is your sword.